Dickinson on KNBR 104.5 and 6.8. Streaming live at twitch.tv/thesportsleader.
And Carroll missing there. And Kuminga has a chance to high-rise.
That's what you get when you defend without fouling. Somehow they did it there.
I tell you, what a night for Klay Thompson. 3 fouls in the first half. He's got Banchero on a 5 of 15 nights. And then Klay scored in the second half.
They overcame that weird sequence of turnovers there. Get back their separation, back to 9 points.
Yeah, the Warriors tried to give it away, maybe, a little bit down the stretch there. But a win is a win. And the Warriors get a much-needed win over the Orlando Magic. 121-115 is the final over at Chase Center. We welcome you in. It's Dubs OT with JD, John Dickinson here on KNBR, the sports leader. 3-game losing streak is history, and the Warriors get back to within a game of 500. Now at 16-17, they get their first win of 2024 in their first opportunity. 808 KNBR is the number. 808 KNBR. Appreciate everybody. Happy New Year to everybody as well here on Dubs OT. Everybody filing in on YouTube and Twitch as well. Appreciate you. Warriors get the job done tonight. Stephen Curry getting the job done tonight in this one as Steph goes for 36, and he does it on 12 of 20 shooting, and really the Warriors found a lot of the formula by which they had in the 5-game winning streak before they had lost the last 3 games of December in 2023. But the 5-game winning streak was basically led by Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, and then a bunch of the young players were chipping in and helping out, and really that formula was on display. As you hear there in the final call that we played coming into the show, Klay Thompson with a hell of a defensive effort, kind of a throwback defensive effort for Klay in this one. He also knocked down 3 of 8 from three-point range, had 15 points. Jonathan Kuminga with one of his most impactful games of late. That had been another part of the formula when the Warriors were on the 5-game winning streak, and things sort of got away from Kuminga on Christmas, and then with some of the comments that he made to Marcus Thompson, and then the horrific game he had against Miami, bounced back a little bit in the Dallas game, but Kuminga with one of his better games, 19 points, and really an all-around game for Kuminga. 19 points, 6 boards, 4 assists, had a couple of spectacular blocks, a couple of highlight reel blocks in this game, and a steal as well. And so it was Steph and Klay with Kuminga, and Trace Jackson-Davis pitches in with 10, and Chris Paul had 12 in the starting lineup, Podziemski and Wiggins. Warriors had 7 in double figures. They shoot 53.8%. They hold the Magic to 44.6%, and the Magic for a good chunk of the night were under 40%. And then they climbed as the game went on, really in the second half. Much better shooting second half for Orlando. Orlando got to the free throw line a bunch, although not as much in the second half, and the Warriors were the team that ended up living at the free throw line in this one. It looked like that was going to be a disadvantage for the Warriors, but it flipped as the game went on. The Warriors end up getting there 37 times. They only made 24, which is a big part of the reason why the game was close. That coupled with some inopportune turnovers, only 12 turnovers total, but 19 points scored by the Magic off of those turnovers. But all in all, the Warriors able to get the win, 121-115 over the Orlando Magic to get 2024 started off right. So 808 KNBR, the number, if you want to react to this one. It's the kind of game, and we'll see how the rest of this homestand plays out with Denver in on Thursday. Detroit comes to Chase on Friday before Toronto and the Pelicans will close things out on the remaining 5 games of the 7-game homestand, now with the Warriors 1-2. But that tonight is the kind of win that it gives you a little bit of hope if you're a Warriors fan that maybe this team can find it and get on a run similar to the run that they were on when they had won the 5 in a row. The flip side of it is, and look, Orlando's a really good young team that walks out of Chase 19-14 on the season. They'll go to Sacramento and take on the Kings tomorrow. But this is the formula. This is the game that gives the Warriors a chance to maybe get back on a run, because it really was starting to feel like the Warriors were teetering on the brink of having to do something dramatic. And we talked a lot about it on Thursday. We talked even more about it on Saturday here on Dubs OT after the Warriors lost to the Mavs, just how ugly the defensive effort was in that game in particular. Tonight, the defensive competitiveness, I thought, was at a much higher clip for the Warriors. Now, Orlando, as talented a young squad as they are, Orlando is not a great shooting team. And Orlando probably is a couple of shooters away from being able to really vault themselves into the conversation as far as being a top 4, top 6 kind of a team in the Eastern Conference with some consistency. But they got a lot of young talent. They're a well-coached team, athletic and long. And this is the kind of game where you start looking around if you're the Warriors, and you need Jonathan Kuminga to play well in this game. You need Wiggins to play well, and I thought Wiggins really put an imprint on the game in the third and fourth quarters. Second half, Wiggins, Warriors going to him with Curry not on the court, and he was posting up, he was scoring, he was getting to the free throw line. He's got to make his free throws, which he didn't really do tonight. But everybody was missing their free throws for the Warriors in this one. Well, everybody except Jonathan Kuminga, who was 4 for 5. He had a much better, but everybody who shot a free throw for the Warriors in this game missed a free throw in this game. Kuminga missed 1. Curry missed 3. 8 of 11 for Steph Curry. Pajemski, 1 of 4 at the free throw line. Andrew Wiggins, 1 of 3. Looney missed 1. Like, everybody that had an opportunity to shoot 1 missed 1. So kind of an odd night there. But when you get to the line 37 times, you get a little margin for error, and the Warriors did wind up outscoring the Magic by 5 at the free throw line in a game that they win by 6. So that proves to be the difference, essentially, as the Warriors also shoot the basketball at a much higher clip than Orlando did. So 808 KNBR, the number. It's John Dickinson. It's Dubs OT with JD here on The Sports Leader, as the Warriors now 16-17 with Denver at Chase Center on Thursday night. And, just wasn't always pretty, but effective. I mean, the Warriors were flat early again, and you're thinking, uh-oh. Down 11-2 in the first 2 minutes and a second. And then the Warriors immediately go on a 16-4 run to take the lead at the end of the first quarter on a Chris Paul 3, 30-28. So you're feeling better about the way things end with Wiggins and Gary Payton II having a positive impact coming off the bench. And it was really that pairing with Steph and Pajemski that was a +8 to close that quarter and flip it in the Warriors' favor. Warriors played Jonathan Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins together again. We're now monitoring that on a night-in, night-out basis. Not in the second half, but in the first half, they finished the half in part because Klay Thompson was in foul trouble. Klay had picked up his third foul, didn't play over the final 7:22 of the half, and the Warriors immediately went on an 8-2 run from being down 1 to lead 45-40, and it was 18-17. Warriors with Wiggins and Kuminga out there. Steph was out there. Kuminga had the big block on Suggs right before halftime. Curry had 19 in the first half. Ends up with 17 in the second half. So a balanced, dominant performance for Steph and Curry. The 4-point play there right before halftime. And then Curry and Chris Paul and Andrew Wiggins kind of lose Gary Harris in transition. He had a 3 right at the buzzer there. So the Warriors ended up giving that back at the buzzer to only lead by, ended up tied. I thought it was tied. I guess they ended up calling that a 2 at the end of the first half. I thought it was 55-55, but I'm looking at the box score. It says 55-54. So somewhere along the line, there was a point taken away. But yeah, they lose Gary Harris, and the Warriors are in a position there where they kind of give that up. But Wiggins and Kuminga played decently together. And that's the second straight game where it wasn't an unmitigated disaster as it had been in the game against Miami. And look, I don't think it's necessarily where you can't ever play them together, but you got to pick your spots. And you would figure that against a team like Orlando, you'd be able to maybe get away with it a little bit more. You'd think you could get away with it against Dallas because Dallas isn't a great defensive team, although they had their moments against the Warriors on Saturday. Team like Miami, maybe not. But I think I'll give Steve Kerr a little bit of credit for at least sticking with it when he had an excuse off of the Miami game to never do it again, as we pointed out on this program on Thursday night. So he sticks with it. Third quarter, you got Orlando, who's basically thinking if they could hit some shots, they'd be up by more. You've got the Warriors really thinking that if they could rebound the basketball better moving forward in the game, that they would have been up by more. But the Warriors weren't really getting out in transition, which was something that didn't really even up as the game went on. Orlando 23-5 transition advantage for the game. But the Warriors, with Kuminga and Gary Payton II out there, pushed the lead back up to 6, right around the 4:10 mark of the third quarter. And then Payton gets hurt. And you hate seeing GP2 go down with any kind of an injury, but got hurt at the 3:49 mark of quarter number 3. Winds up being a left hamstring strain. He went right to the locker room. And, unfortunately, the Warrior, looks like they're going to be without GP2 again after he had just come back. Key cog there, probably going to be down for a little bit. But, yeah, the Warriors end up 32-26 in the third quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, it was just enough here and there. It was Wiggins posting up, as I mentioned, scoring the basketball, getting to the free throw line a little bit. And just when you look and think that the Warriors maybe are going to be able to push the lead out and get it into that double-digit range, Orlando would go on a 14-5 run over the end of the third, beginning of the fourth. But tonight was a night where the Warriors had answers. Klay Thompson hit a 3. Looney found Kuminga on a cut with the Warriors up 2 for a layup, put them up 4, 99-95. Thought that was a key sequence. And then it was Steph getting to the bucket for a layup, hitting a 3 to put the Warriors up 7. Looked like, all right, hey, Warriors are going to cruise now. No, they had 3 straight turnovers, and there were just a bunch of weird, odd turnovers in the closing couple of minutes, which seemed like it took about a half an hour to play the final 90 seconds. But all in all, a lot of positives, a hell of a lot more positives for the Warriors in this one than the last couple of games, and they did it against a good young team. So I think you take it where you can get it, and now we can see if the Warriors could get a shot at the defending champs who are going to be coming to Chase Center, followed by Detroit. So again, much like when the Warriors played Boston right before the Christmas holiday, this is sort of the game against Denver coming up on Thursday that can flip the whole homestand. If you can get that one, and then it's Detroit and Toronto and maybe the Pelicans, and then there's still a shot to maybe separate from 500 on the positive end and change some of the conversation as far as where this team is at moving forward when they hit the road for what'll seemingly be the first time on an extended trip in about 2 months. But nice win. Curry gets it done. Klay Thompson along for the ride, and Jonathan Kuminga impactful. It was really those 3 tonight with some nice ancillary performances from Trace Jackson-Davis and Chris Paul and Brandon Podziemski and Andrew Wiggins. So 808 KNBR is the number if you're leaving Chase. How much does one night sort of change the conversation? To me, not much. Not much. It was one of those, I wouldn't call it a full-blown zero upside game. Like I said, Orlando's a pretty good team. They're a team that I think has the ability to pose some matchup problems for the Warriors. So the Warriors' ability to overcome that, young athleticism and all of that bodes well. But big picture, not a lot changes for me. It's more about what happens against Denver, and then how do you finish the homestand based on what happens. If you don't beat Denver, you basically got to finish the homestand winning the last 3 to be over 500 going back out on the road. if you can get the Denver game, then you got an opportunity still to make some hay and feel as good about yourselves as maybe you haven't in quite some time going back out on the road. But, Mike Dunleavy Jr. is on record as saying he wanted to see 15 to 20 games without Draymond Green, basically, to evaluate where this team is going to be moving forward. And we're getting toward the end of that stretch. And really, by the end of the homestand, we are going to be at the end of that stretch. So the next 4 games, I think, for the Warriors still are more pivotal, and we're going to learn a lot more about this Warriors team in those games than we did based on what the Warriors did tonight. That being said, still a nice win for the Warriors, who've been searching since before the Christmas holiday to get one. All right, 808 KNBR is the number if you're leaving Chase. You can give me a call. You can shoot me a text. The Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line. Warriors get the win 121-115. We do have Sounds of Silver coming up. We got fun with numbers coming up. We're going to get into the YouTube chat straight ahead here. Appreciate everybody watching on YouTube and Twitch. It's all straight ahead right here. It's Dubs OT with JD, KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Basketball.
This is KNBR, and this is Dubs OT with John Dickinson. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 104.5.
And Carroll working with Batazzi. Great pass. Blocked by Kuminga.
Yeah, you saved the layup. You're cleaning up a mistake. That's having Steph Curry's back that time.
Steph. They skip past Kuminga. Better look Peyton. He likes those corner threes. That one loose to Curry. GP2 rising and floating it in.
That's the right decision. He ate up that real estate. Now you got the momentum. You got the crowd involved. They're feeling good. Got your swagger back now.
This is the Warriors' biggest lead of the night.
Yeah, one of 2 Jonathan Kuminga blocks. That right before Gary Payton II went down. Hell of a game for Jonathan Kuminga. Really, he did everything well in this game except shoot the 3 ball. 1 of 5, and he wasn't shy. He loves taking those wing ones. Man. And sometimes, look, I get it. Teams are not guarding him out there. You got to take it. But everything else for Jonathan Kuminga, pretty much on point, as good and or great in this one. He finishes with 19 points, but more importantly, it was the activity. 2 blocks, 6 boards, 4 assists, being a willing passer. He helped the Warriors lead to this 121-115 victory. As we welcome you back to Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. 808 KNBR is the number. Warriors now within a game of 500 again, 16-17 as the uphill climb continues. That's what happens when you drop 3 in a row after winning 5 in a row. But we'll see if this can be some kind of a springboard here into 2024 as far as trying to get the Warrior season back on track and trying to get them closer to having the potential to make a run. Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line real quick. Seems like Moody is the odd man out. The kid can play. What are your thoughts? Maybe GP2 going down changes things. That from Lefty. We appreciate checking in the 925 area code. Yeah, I do think the Gary Payton injury will help Moses Moody get on the floor. Just real quickly. And look, the Warriors have been better this year when Steve Kerr has basically kept it to 9 or 10. And with Payton back and Kuminga starting and Wiggins going to get minutes, although he only played 21 tonight, Klay Thompson playing more 3, it's going to be harder to get Moses Moody on the floor. But you take GP2 out, and I know we were talking about it on Saturday, it's almost as if Moody's the odd man out because Moody's the guy that can handle it even as a young player because of his professionalism. But I think he will get an opportunity now with GP2 being out. And really, for the most part, when Moody gets opportunities, he doesn't kill you. The beauty of Moses Moody is his bad games don't really feel like they dramatically negatively impact the outcome. So, yeah, I know a lot of Warrior fans are still frustrated about Moody not getting run, but I think he's going to start getting run at least a couple of shifts a half because they're not going to have GP2, I would imagine, for a little bit with the left hamstring strain, which the Warriors had announced pretty quickly after he left the floor there at the end of the third quarter. 808 KNBR is the number. Again, same number to give me a call or shoot me a text here on the Sports Leader as the Warriors win tonight over the Orlando Magic. Golden State, first win of the homestand in 3 tries with 4 more to go beginning on Thursday with the Denver Nuggets going up against the Dubs. Let's get to the YouTube chat here. The 3 turnovers late were scary. Yeah, really scary. I mean, it just, for whatever reason, and look, I want to go more positively because this was a nice Warrior win all in all, but it just feels like no lead is safe for this team. Like none. Like there is just no, all right, whew, they got this one. Like that just doesn't seem to exist anywhere at this point for the Warriors. And so, yeah, and it's Curry. A lot of the times that's the guy that's the culprit in those situations. And tonight it was Curry. It was Curry getting trapped. Curry offensive foul. Like you never know what no lead is safe. And we've seen a couple big leads that have gone bye-bye for the Warriors. We've seen 6-point leads in a minute that have gone bye-bye for the Warriors, like that game in Sacramento in November. So, yeah, I mean, just no lead safe. And the turnovers were a little bit scary, I think. Rebel DeSounds checking in. Warriors cleaned up the rebounds in the second half. Yeah, much better job on the boards in the second half. And a much better job in terms of the offensive rebounds in the second half. Looking at the box, yeah, 13 offensive rebounds for Orlando in the first half. They had 3 in the second half. So that's a major, major cleanup, and that was really where the Warriors were getting hit. So they did clean that up, Rebel. Appreciate that in the second half. Yeah, absolutely got destroyed on the glass. 808 KNBR. 808 KNBR. The number drew down, missed most of the game. but love the result. I mean, you'll take it. You'll take it. And, yeah, the Kuminga line pops without a doubt. 19, 6, and 4. Couple of blocks. The blocks stole the show. I want to say 19, 6, 4, and 2 for Kuminga. Looks like they had him down for a steal. They took it away as I'm looking at the final box. But, yeah, 19, 6, and 4 with Kuminga with 2 blocks, and the 2 blocks might have been the most impressive part. And, yeah, just it was an active Kuminga night. It was a flying around. Like I said, the only thing I didn't like really about his game tonight was he took 5 threes, and a few of them were from the wing. But, again, that's the shot that I think defenses are going to dare him to take. But other than that, I mean, when it's cutting, when it's driving all the way to the basket, I got no problem with Kuminga shooting the rock. But he did it in other ways tonight for a Warriors team that really needed him to be able to do it in other ways. So Kuminga making his case and starting to bounce back off of a couple of poor games, really the one really poor game in Miami, after maybe he stuck his foot in his mouth in Denver when he didn't play down the stretch of that one, and Andrew Wiggins wound up finishing that game. But no, Kuminga was all over it tonight. He was the second best player on the floor for the Warriors in this one. Klay Thompson made a case, and Klay Thompson helped them, but make no mistake, Jonathan Kuminga was the Warriors' second best player after Stephen Curry. And you look up plus minus right there. Curry plus 12, Kuminga, Looney, and Payton all plus 10s in this one. And, yeah, Klay Thompson, 15 points. I mean, he was really, again, the Warriors don't necessarily need Klay Thompson to dominate, but they just need Klay Thompson to not have a terrible game to give him a chance. And Klay Thompson was pretty good. Klay Thompson, a little bit of a do-everything game for him. Defensively getting the job done, knocking down the 3 ball. 3 of 3 for Klay Thompson from 2-point range. Real nice game. Real nice game for Klay Thompson. All right, back to the YouTube chat. It's Dubs OT with JD here on The Sports Leader. Yeah, the Warriors did miss a lot of free throws, 24-37. Rebel pointing that out. But yeah, the Warriors in a spot where, again, they made some adjustments and I thought they played kind of a gritty defensive game tonight. That's the one thing that really stands out. The Magic ended up shooting the ball for them pretty well from 3. And outmade the Warriors from 3, which typically can be problematic. But the Warriors attacked them. And the Warriors did not get demolished in the paint. They didn't win the points in the paint battle, but they didn't get demolished. It was 54-46. But it was 54-46 plus the free throw difference, which was in the Warriors' favor. Also doesn't happen often. But the Warriors get the advantage at the free throw line, as we talked about in the first segment, and that ultimately proves to be the difference. My family, has JD given Kuminga some credit yet? Hell yes, I have. Right off the top of the show. And a bunch of times here in the body of the show. Appreciate you, Drew Down. JD has given Kuminga his flowers. He deserves it. Absolutely deserves it tonight. No question about it. Always have to keep it 100. And look, Kuminga's helped the Warriors more than he hasn't over this last month, basically, since Steve Kerr benched him and then he found his way back in the lineup. Really going back to that Portland game on December the 6th, however many games that is. Kuminga has helped them probably, I don't know. And I would say Kuminga's been a positive performer in all but maybe 3 of those games since 3 or 4, maybe, probably closer to 3 and we're talking, 15 games. He's maybe had 3 or 4 clunkers in there, but he's had 10, 11 real good games that have really helped the Warriors. Aussie Rules checking in. Yeah, as far as Kuminga, I lost it. 2 blocks, 4 assists, 4 boards. Yeah, he did other things. Effort on the offensive boards. This is the one I wanted to get to from Aussie Rules. Effort on the offensive boards, blocking shots. He was noticeably hustling, which I think was something that had started to maybe get a little bit away from him in the last couple of games. The energy, he just needs to be a high motor, high energy player. I think sometimes he does get a little too cool. Like he just wants to be out there and cook. And that's fine. He's going to get opportunities to do that. But he has to be doing the other things. 34 minutes. And again, Steve Kerr's got no problem playing him 30-plus minutes if he's going to play the way that he did tonight, because it wasn't just scoring. I think sometimes Kuminga does get lost wanting to just score. I think he at times views whether he has a good game or a bad game basically 100% just on whether he scores the basketball or not. And I think the Warriors have tried to implore him that it's not just about scoring the basketball, that it's about hustle and defense and rebounding and blocking shots. And he did those things, and he earned the minutes. He was, again, I think the second best player on the floor tonight for the Warriors after Stephen Curry. Denver game important, my family. Checking in here on the YouTube chat. Denver game important. Trace Jackson Davis will hopefully show he's learned from the prior matchup. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they're going to need Trace Jackson Davis, obviously, going up against Jokic. Yes, Trace Jackson Davis for Looney. Better rim protection. San Jose Jazz fan, the third, checking in. San Jose Jazz fan, the third, runs the gamut. High highs after wins, low lows after losses. Howard, wow, JD now on KNBR? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. After every Warriors game. YouTube and Twitch, 808 KNBR, the phone number, locked and loaded, ready to roll. Hello there on the YouTube chat. Curry needs to stop messing around with a mouth guard, throwing off his... Curry's always messed around with his mouth guard. Come on. That's always been a thing. JD, do you think there's a trade in the works behind the scenes? I do. But the next probably 10 games are going to determine what the Warriors ultimately do. I think if they get on a little bit of a run, then I think you're more apt to keep it rolling and feel like you found something. I got to be honest, the vibe at Chase tonight from being over there pregame, and we did have some other things we wanted to get into. Marcus Thompson was on the Sports Leader earlier. He flat out said basically what we were talking about Saturday, which is, hey, this team's going to have to do something. This team's going to have to make a trade. Seen enough. Games like tonight make you wonder, can they get by with what they have? Because I know a lot of Warrior fans are pretty excited about the young players when the young players play well. Again, tonight does nothing for me along those lines. I would need to see about 5 or 6 more games like tonight with wins in most of them before I'm changing my mind on that one. But, tonight's the game, and I think that's really been the story of the Warriors season, is when they've played well, and during that 5-game winning streak with the younger players taking on a bigger role, with Steph and Klay basically leading the way, it led you down the path of thinking, well, yeah, maybe they don't need to. Maybe they don't need to. Yeah, rockin' New Era 84. Games like tonight, they pull you back in. One game isn't going to do it for me on that thought process. But I'll tell you, from being at Chase for pregame, there was just a weird vibe, man. Weird vibe there. Steve Kerr, I think, has grown much more blunt in the last 4 or 5 days in his assessment of where this Warriors team is at. I think he's grown more blunt in discussing the underlying disconnect between players on this roster. And I think he's just kind of laying it out there. And, we'll see who comes along and is accountable and can get their act together for this Warriors team moving forward. But there just is a real fragile vibe in the building. And then the Warriors got down 11-2 in the first 2 minutes, and you're thinking, oh, my goodness, what is going on here? But they showed some fight tonight. And then, again, it was Steph who file this one away again in the category of Steph refused to allow them to lose this game. Steph was just not having it. Just not having it tonight. And he got it going there toward the end of the second quarter to help keep the Warriors right there and up by 1 at halftime. And it was just, no, not losing. Down the stretch, nope, not losing. 19 first half, 17 second half. Nice win. 808 KNBR, the number. Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line. It's John Dickinson, Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. Warriors win 121-115. Aussie rules. Yes, Kuminga should shoot less threes. More power to the rim. Again, sometimes you have to take them. I don't want to look at his shot chart here. I mean, Kuminga, overall, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it was 2 corner threes, which I don't have he can take open corner threes. He was 0 for 2 from the corner. He was 1 for 3 from the wings. But basically everything else was in the paint. He hit one little jumper from about 10, 12 feet out on the right wing. On the right baseline, really. It's close to the baseline than the wing. But, yeah, I mean, when Kuminga's right, it's all in the paint. And the Warriors need it. But you can't totally tell him to never shoot the 3 because teams are daring him to shoot the 3. And the one thing that I think he's done a lot better over the last month, and he was really good at it tonight, is quickly look to make the extra pass. Quickly look to, if he doesn't have a move to get to the bucket or he's not going to take the jumper, be quick to get the ball to somebody else. And he showed some of that ability that he told Marcus Thompson he has, that ability to pass, that ability to get other people involved. So, yeah, I'm not going to quibble with the 1 for 5 when he's doing so many other things well. And he's helping this Warriors team win at the level. Thoughts, JD, on Kerr's rotation and substitution? I mean, I don't have much of a problem with it tonight. I thought the right guys played the most minutes. I know Warrior fans are always up in arms with Chris Paul out there a lot. But, look, Steve Kerr likes having Chris Paul on the floor to close games as a stabilizing force. He went in, as the great Greg Silver points out, right after the 3 straight turnovers to get another ball handler on the court and a guy that it just is one of the best ever regular season at finishing games. You know, I'm not making this an indictment of Chris Paul's playoff career. That's not the point. Is he's a guy you want to have out there at the end of the game, especially in the regular season, for poise and calm and put the ball in his hands and let him make the right decisions, especially when you have a lead. So I didn't have a problem with it. I mean, Podziemski played 29. Curry and Paul played over 30. Kuminga earned his 34. Klay Thompson would have played more, but he was in foul trouble in the first half, so he ended up with 25. Klay probably would have ended up closer to 31 or 32. He didn't play the last 7 minutes of the half in the first half because he had 3 fouls. And I thought Wiggins gave the Warriors a lift, but Kuminga was the better option tonight, so he finished the game with Kuminga. Just like in other games, he's finished the game with Wiggins if Wiggins is the better option than Kuminga. And I do think finishing with both may have been on the table, but they liked what they were getting from Podziemski tonight. So I don't really have any problem with the rotation or the substitutions or anything there as far as the Warriors go in this one. 808 KNBR, the number. Fozzie, appreciate you, Fozzie, in the YouTube chat. I'm going to fill my beverage and give you a call in a minute, JD. Love it. Love it. Pour yourself one and give me a call here on the Sports Leader. Yeah, Steph got to the free throw line tonight. He led the way in that department, 8 of 11. And again, I think if there's one note to look at, and there are a handful, the Warriors winning the free throw battle in terms of attempts and makes, +5, difference in the game. Holding their own in the paint helped to be the difference in the game. The opposition having more turnovers, difference in the game. Doesn't typically happen for the Warriors. Now, the Warriors got slammed in the first half on the boards, and second chance points didn't go their way. Fast break points really didn't go their way. Young, athletic, defense into offense when they're right Orlando team. But all in all, it was enough. All in all, it was enough. And it winds up being a real nice Warrior win to open up 2024. All right, we'll pause here. We'll come back. We got Sounds of Silver coming up. We've got Fun with Numbers coming up as well. And we will get into some of the conversation from earlier today here on the Sports Leader about kind of the big picture, where do the Warriors go from here? Have you seen enough as far as not having an inconsistent or having a consistent number 2 next to Steph Curry? The great Marcus Thompson joined the Sports Leader earlier. We'll hear his take on that. Kind of an extension of a conversation that we started to close out 2023 on Dubs OT Saturday. All right, 808 KNBR. Warriors win at 121-115. It's Dubs OT with JD on 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
5-5.
live from downtown.
Hurry, way downtown. Bang! Bang!
This is Dubs OT with John Dickinson on the Sports Leader. Streaming live at KNBR.com and on the KNBR app.
Did you hear something?
Yeah, like a swoosh.
Yeah.
Dubs OT presents the sounds of silver. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Shot clock off. Final 5 seconds of the half. Curry crossover three. Good! And the foul! Look at that.
Oh, my goodness. I'm sure Suggs felt home alone out there on an island with Steph.
Curry backs up and hits the three. Come on!
He made Suggs bite the dust again, and then it's up to Bataji. Bataji has nothing for that.
The degree of difficulty on that was a billion.
Yeah, Stephen Curry getting it done tonight. Warriors win 121-115. Fitz and Kalena there on NBC Sports Bay Area. The 4-point play right before the half, that was huge to get the Warriors right back in position to have the lead. Now, they did give up the Gary Harris bucket at the horn, which you never want to see happen. But nevertheless, Steph went off tonight. 36 points, big-time scoring effort, and the Warriors needed it to prevail over the Magic 121-115. It's Dubs OT with JD here on KNBR, the Sports Leader. Let's bring in the great Greg Silver. Sounds of Silver. What do we got tonight, bud? Happy New Year to you also, by the way.
Happy New Year, too. Or Happy New Year to you, too. Wow, maybe in 2024 I'll learn how to speak. That's my New Year's resolution. Good to see you, JD. And, yeah, it was an interesting game. I was a little worried in the fourth quarter what we were going to have at our disposal for Sounds of Silver, but we didn't get the same group of people speaking this time, which I think is a nice start. We got something from Steve Kerr, want to get a little bit into Jonathan Kuminga, and then also from Chris Paul a little bit too. We will start with Steve Kerr, as we always do, with the coach of the Warriors. I'm going to cue up that cut right now, but as I'm doing that, I'm going to ask a question to you, and I hope you haven't looked at the document too in depth. What would you say he thinks the key to this game was?
I couldn't tell you, to be honest. I couldn't tell you. The lack of turnovers.
It was many things.
Usually I'm pretty good at deciphering Kerr. Tonight, I couldn't tell you.
Rebounding, great defense, and bench play.
Okay.
Probably about 4 other things. So, we'll get to that right here. Got it to go. This is Steve Kerr.
Well, we started rebounding in the second half. They had 13 offensive boards in the first half and only 3 in the second half. So I thought our work on the glass was much better. I think for the most part, we defended, without fouling, so the game could flow for us, and we took care of the ball. Only 12 turnovers for us, and I thought a lot of guys came in and played really well. Loon was fantastic, plus 10, and obviously closed the game. He's so good defensively, and I thought Wiggs, Brandon, our bench came in, really did a good job.
Yeah, the bench did, and I think it's interesting. Coach Kerr often will look to point out individuals who maybe are getting the short end of the playing time or the starting role. And I think, Podziemski played well tonight. Looney, only 17 minutes for Looney, but was out there in the finishing group until Chris Paul ended up going in the game after those 3 turnovers. But basically, Looney was in the group that helped put the game away, even though he's somebody that has found his way out of the starting lineups. Okay, that's not too bad. Usually I'm pretty good at knowing my Kerr, like 1 or 2 things. It didn't seem to be as obvious tonight, but yeah, the boards, that was something we talked about, the turnovers. And look, the Warriors bench, it wasn't like tonight was they outscored. It wasn't the 70-30 bench point discrepancy that we've seen in some of these other games, or 50-18 or something like that. Warriors got beat in terms of bench scoring tonight, but scoring isn't the only way to impact the game, and I think that's one of the bigger takeaways overall from this one. The Warriors did get scoring, 7 in double figures, all 5 starters for the first time this season in double figures. But for me, tonight was about things other than the scoring. What else we got, Greg?
Well, it's a shortcut, but I do want to give Jonathan Kuminga some credit because, sometimes Jonathan Kuminga can be a very emotionally triggering player for this Bay Area fan base. And if you don't always praise him, then you get labeled as a Kuminga hater. You're not a Kuminga hater. I'm not a Kuminga hater. And Jonathan Kuminga tonight, as you said, and I agree with, was the second best player behind Stephen Curry. Kuminga was asked about the game slowing down for him and getting more reps and trust from Steve Kerr, and he just had a little tidbit talking about that from the court post-game. So here is 00 talking about getting reps and trust developing.
I mean, it's pretty much about reps, everyday reps, film, practice, and stuff like that. And just having that trust from Coach Kerr, that's what kind of helped me to just keep going.
Yeah, about reps, everyday reps. Play me. No, I'm kidding. No, he definitely is growing more confident in areas that aren't, common theme of this segment apparently, areas that aren't scoring. That's the reality. It's about the other stuff to where it's about making a quick pass if you can't get all the way to the basket and you're not going to take the 3. It's about flying around and playing with a lot of energy. It's about rebounding. It's about hustle. It's not just about scoring. I think Kuminga again, it's like we said in the last segment. Sometimes if there is a knock on Kuminga, it's the fact that I feel like he only thinks he's impacting the game in a positive way when he's scoring. And I think he's extremely confident in his ability to score and didn't always play confidently in the other areas that he should be pretty confident in. And he said to Marcus Thompson, hey, I can pass. I can do all these things. And he's done a little bit more of that lately. And I think, when you talk about reps and practice reps and those kinds of things, it's the decision making, it's the hustle, it's the other things. Because he always has believed in his ability to score the basketball. 808 KNBR is the number. It's John Dickinson here on the Sports Leader. It's Dubs OT with JD as the Warriors win 121-115. Sounds of silver right now. What else do we have tonight, Greg?
Well, I want to get Klay Thompson eventually. He just came to the podium pretty recently. Our guy Cole is doing awesome work out there, and he'll be chopping that up pretty shortly. But before that, let's go to Chris Paul, because he doesn't always come to the podium, and when he does, it's usually pretty late. This has to do with the worst part of the night for the Warriors, and that was seeing Gary Payton II finally get into a groove and then making a nice little crafty layup. Magic call timeout, and then I go up to get a drink in the bullpen, and I come back, and GP2 is down, grabbing his calf, and Chris Paul talks about Gary Payton II and what he means for the energy of this team. And although he doesn't say anything overly profound, I think this is a cut that's worthy of playing, JD, because we're going to get into a little bit more big picture talk on the latter half of this show with what do the Warriors do when they have all these guys that are capable, some are healthy, some always aren't. And it's really just Steph Curry and hoping that Klay Thompson can be that number 2 a lot of nights. So here's Chris Paul talking about the significance of the loss of GP2.
It's tough, man. I got to go down there and check on G because he's such a big part of our team. People may not realize it, but his energy is consistent every day, every practice, every game or whatnot. So him coming back to our team has been huge for us. So I hope what it isn't something that's going to take a long time or whatnot. But I think for him, it's going to be about just getting as healthy as possible.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you can hope for. And unfortunately for him, that's been something where he's been, it's just been inconsistent throughout the course of his career, which is unfortunate. And a lot of people in the YouTube chat chiming in about GP2 and hoping for the best. Feel bad for him. I mean, it always feels like the next injury is coming, unfortunately, for Gary Payton II. and he had just come back from one that originally was feared to be significant. It wasn't as significant, and he comes back and he plays a couple of games, and you could tell the Warriors are even trying to be careful with his minutes. They've got some other options as far as players that can play, and then he winds up going down. We do want to hear from Klay Thompson coming up because I think he may have, just from me trying to view things here on social media and reading some of the quotes as they pop up, he may have had the line of the night as far as providing some insight into a conversation he had with Steve Kerr over the course of the last few days. So we're going to get to that coming up here on Dubs OT with JD on the Sports Leader. Did we have another cut, Greg, or was that it for now? Okay, yeah, that's it for now, but we will hear from Klay Thompson coming up here. 808 KNBR is the phone number. The Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line. The phone lines are open here. It's Dubs OT with JD. Back to the YouTube chat we go. We also have fun with numbers coming up here between now and 11 o'clock as well. Hello there, saying JK showcasing for another team or pushback on a trade. In any event, he's playing hard. And, yeah, look, the bottom line is the upcoming games are going to dictate what the Warriors do. I think they're in a very difficult spot with Kuminga. When Kuminga plays like he did tonight, why would you want to trade that guy? Like, that's just the reality. If Kuminga's going to play like he did tonight, that's, that as a role player with a greater ceiling in front of him, and that's everything that the Warriors would want. And so that to me is, that's where it gets real tricky. But you're also going to be up against somebody, as we've talked about, that's going to be eligible for a contract extension. Then you get into the whole, what's the Warriors' opinion of his value right now versus his own opinion of his value right now. So it's a delicate situation. But he was excellent in the game tonight. No doubt about it. Regulator, appreciate you having my back, although I don't think anybody in the chat was really coming after me on Kuminga. But Regulator saying JD's been fair about Kuminga. I always say, and I hate being the guy that says it because you're talking about yourself, but I think I've been the most fair and objective evaluator and speaker in the media about Jonathan Kuminga. Like, period. Like, number one. Praise when he plays well, critical, which does seem to be difficult for many in the media to be critical of him when he doesn't play well. But look, he's earned it. He's played very well over the last month overall. A lot of hustle plays, rebel to sounds. Okay, I guess there are a few people that are saying I'm struggling to say good things about Kuminga. Come on, get out of here. Get the heck out of here with that. Yeah. Let's see, what else do we have here? Yeah, Max throwing in a little bit of love for Kevon Looney and his plus 10. Helpful with the Magic being a bigger team. He did play in the lineups with Kuminga and Wiggins. Actually, Trace Jackson-Davis was out there with Kuminga and Wiggins in the first half when they played on the floor together with the three of them. But yeah, he was impactful. There's no doubt. He was impactful in the game tonight, and he, like on many nights where Looney does play and is impactful, you don't even notice it. You don't even notice it. So, yeah, and it needs to be pointed out. But, yeah, the Warriors are finding themselves right now in a spot where, let's see if it translates over an extended period, 3, 5, 7, 10 games. That's where it's been difficult. Like, the Warriors have played their best other than the beginning of the year when they were 6-2, when they really got up against it. 4 games under 500, kind of feeling like they're in desperation mode, and then they win 5 in a row. And then when you start to wonder if they can turn it into something bigger than that, then they lose 3 in a row. And now, coming into tonight's game, it felt like they were on the brink of disaster again. And then they win a couple. And so, you add it all up, and Steve Kerr said this in his pregame press conference. You look at the point differential, you look at the offensive and defensive rating number, they're just middle of the pack. They're just a 500 team. Take the good with the bad. But this team, obviously, the way they were built, they believe that they're much better than than a 500 team. Drew Down along those lines. I think this team is more dangerous in a playoff series than an 82-game season, if that makes sense. I think they proved that last year. I mean, they won 44 games, and Sacramento, I think you could make the case, is the opposite of that. Sacramento's a team that's much more dangerous, I think, in a regular season than they are in a playoff series. And that doesn't mean they can't win a playoff series, but the Warriors with their championship pedigree are always going to be a team that nobody wants to play in a playoff series, and they're a team that'll be able to pull off an upset. But there's a difference between being able to do that and being able to win 3 or 4 playoff series to get to a conference finals or an NBA finals. So at that point, I agree that they're dangerous. But again, this thing, this team believes they're far more than dangerous. They believe, at least coming into the year, that they are a contending type of a team. Douglas Mike, J.K. deserved to be criticized a few games ago. Yeah, again, when a guy doesn't play well, you say it. When a guy plays well, you say it. It's pretty simple as that. A's, Raider, Warriors, Zay. I think people need to chill with the Kuminga hype. He plays good one game. No, he's been more consistent than good one game and bad the next. He's been, I think, somewhat inconsistent throughout his career. I think he was pretty inconsistent up until about a month ago this season. I think he hasn't been inconsistent over the last month. I think he's been mostly pretty good. So, yeah, I mean, look, he's figuring it out. He's figuring it out. And, again, it creates a fascinating discussion as it relates to this Warriors team moving toward the trade deadline. I mean, it really is a mystery. Like, this team could get on a run, and then you want to keep it together. This team could get on a run, but then you still feel like you need to add another vet or young vet. I mean, any trade that the Warriors make should be for a player that's young prime. Like, any trade that the Warriors make should be taking somebody back that's like between the age of 26 and 30, not 30 and 34. But how do you get that player? And if Jonathan Kuminga continues to play like he did tonight, then would you want, maybe you already have that guy on your roster. That's the conundrum, because he is you can tell he's a tantalizing player, but you can also tell that he's a frustrating player, I think, for the coaching staff and for some of the other veteran players. So it's kind of grappling with all of that. And let's be honest, the Warriors don't have to pay him, but he is due for an extension. So how do you factor that? More of an off-season discussion. But he's been really good of late, and I think that's the most important thing. All right, we got a bonus cut here. We'll just call it an extension of Sounds of Silver. Appreciate Cole, appreciate Greg for getting everything together. This was, I think, pretty telling, what Klay Thompson had to say. And this goes to something that we've talked about on this show and on this station and in my previous life, for those of you that have followed me over, about Klay Thompson. Here's Klay Thompson on a conversation that was had within the last couple of days.
And before we play it, I'm just going to jump in and give the fair warning that the last 20 seconds or so are a little bit heavy on the background noise, so I'll boost the volume. We're going to do the best we can. Shout out to Cole for getting this cut, and shout out to Overnight Dave right behind me, because he always makes fun of Klay Thompson when he's looking at a piece of paper. It looks like he's reading off his responses. He wasn't looking at the box score for this one.
It's his paper airplane.
It's his paper airplane. Here's Klay.
Well, Steve and I had actually a great conversation yesterday, and that helped me relax a lot. Sometimes I forget just how successful and how lucky I've been to to be a part of championship teams and all-star games and gold medals. When you want to get back to that level so badly, you can kind of get in your own way. And rather than forcing it, we had a conversation about just enjoying this last chapter of my career and how lucky I truly am to still be playing this game and doing it at a high level and being a better mentor for these young guys, leading by example and having my energy right every game. And he helped me realize if I do have negative energy, how that affects the team in a poor manner. So we had a great conversation that just helped me change my whole mindset and forget about shooting splits or points per game or all-star games, just to enjoy being in this Warriors uniform and appreciate what we built, because it's such a rare opportunity for any professional athlete to be a part of someone's success and to try and pass that torch to the younger guys and keep this thing going.
So, yeah, Klay Thompson acknowledging the fact that sometimes he brings negative energy and acknowledging the fact that that can be a bad example, basically, for the other younger players. I think the one thing we forget from time to time is, what's it like to be a Brandon Pajemski or a Trace Jackson Davis or a Jonathan Kuminga, and you get thrown onto the Golden State freaking Warriors, who were on this run akin to the 90s Bulls or the 80s Lakers. And, these young guys, I think, they expect the veteran players to be a certain way. And look, I mean, Klay has been just a body language failure a lot in the last 2 years when things are not going well. Like, he wears his frustration. And it is very much the opposite of the Klay Thompson that you would see during the dominant Warriors run. Like, Klay was always intense but unaffected. Like, his vibe was always positive because it was kind of it was like he was just too cool to ever let the fact that maybe things weren't going well bother him. Like, he would I always remember the game in Dallas. I think it was in 2013. This is when Mark Jackson was coaching the team, and the Warriors were about to win the game in Dallas. They had gotten an offensive rebound. I think they were up by 5 or something. Maybe hell, they might have only been up by 3. There was an offensive rebound. They're about to run the clock out. The ball gets kicked out to Klay. Klay shoots a 3. And basically Dallas gets another opportunity because he just, like, that's the Klay. Like, Klay just unaffected by the moment, good or bad, but not ever really a bad body language guy. And I think for him to acknowledge, and for Steve Kerr to go to him on New Year's Day, and I think he's needed to be reminded of this. I think this was a big part of the team meeting that this team had a year ago, where they basically told him to get out of his own way and chill. And it does lead down the path of needing to be being a better mentor, because the young guys see Klay running off half ticked off and mugging when things are not going well. And it allows them, it's just a bad tone to be set for younger players. It allows younger players, it gives younger players an excuse if they want it. And you know what else it does? It also shows younger players that maybe the great culture that the Warriors had with Steph and Klay and Draymond ain't that great after all. It shows a lack of maybe invincibility, which I think is, that's something that you want to be able to carry for as long as possible, even if maybe your ability on the court to do it has diminished. Like, you want to keep that aura of invincibility, even if it doesn't exist. So credit to Steve Kerr for going to Klay Thompson, and credit for Klay Thompson for speaking to it and kind of letting everybody behind the curtain a little bit. That's not 2 straight games, but 2 straight Klay Thompson post-game press conferences that I think have been pretty A+. After the Miami game, where he came out and spoke, and that debacle, and then the comments that we just played for you as far as his conversation with Steve Kerr, needing to improve his, he didn't say body language, I think he said energy, in an attempt to savor the final chapter of his career and also be a better mentor to the young players. So good on both men for being able to get in a room and kind of hash that out. I think it gives, because Clay's going to have great games, he's going to have bad games. But the one thing that's been prevalent these last 2 years is when things have not gone well, Clay, you can just watch the game and you're like, oh man, Clay is just pissed. He's just, you can just see it. He's fuming. And that, I think, can be a little jarring to young players. I really do. All right, 808 KNBR. We will pause here. We will come back, and we will keep things going into the 11 o'clock hour with Fun with Numbers. We'll close out the YouTube chat, and we'll sneak in a call or two. 808 KNBR is the number. Warriors win over the Magic, 121-115. It's Dubs OT with JD here on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
We had a conversation about just enjoying this last chapter of my career and how lucky I truly am to still be playing this game.
station. This is the real and inside story on Warriors basketball. Dubs OT with John Dickinson continues. Streaming live at twitch.tv/thesportsleader. This is Dubs OT with JD. Time now for fun.
I'm a fun guy.
With numbers.
No, I'm just having fun.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live on KNBR.com and the KNBR app.
Steph having a run to go. Projectsy gets a steal. Oh, man. Well, Brandon's okay there. Warriors win it. It was a good game. The Magic are a tough team. They came in at 19-13. Jamal Mosley and Steve have a lot of respect for each other. Those are two really good coaches right there. And the Magic are going to be heard from. They're going to be a playoff team and be a problem in the East. That's a big win, Kay. They needed to end that losing streak and get ready for the defending champs.
Huge win for the Warriors. And again, as I often say, better than the alternative. But no, the Warriors earned this one. 121-115, the final. It's Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. Warriors now 10-8 at home, 16-17 overall. Big games from Stephen Curry, big games from Jonathan Kuminga, and a nice, solid, steady Klay Thompson performance as the Warriors will be back in action on Thursday. Rematch against the defending champion Nuggets. Warriors have already gotten beat twice by Denver in Denver, as these two teams will face each other for the first time in San Francisco coming up on Thursday. Then it's Detroit and Toronto and New Orleans before the Warriors head back out on the road a week from Friday, a trip that will take them to Chicago, Milwaukee, Memphis, and Utah. Looking at the NBA standings here before we get to fun with numbers. Warriors still on the outside looking in, even with the win. And I think that's telling as far as just how far the Warriors have to go. But only a half game back now of the Lakers, who are currently 10th in the West. And the Lakers are really struggling as they've lost 7 of their last 10. And it is a bit of a glut right now. The Suns had fallen to a game under, and now they've won 4 in a row to get to 18-15. So the ebbs and flows of a NBA season. Still Minnesota leading the way. How about Oklahoma City? Oklahoma City has won 5 in a row, and the Thunder got the job done tonight over Boston. 127-123 was the final in that one. Oklahoma City's beaten Boston, Denver, and Minnesota. So the top 2 teams in each conference and the defending champions during their 5-game winning streak. Impressive stuff. So Minnesota and OKC are the top 2 in the West. Denver just kind of doing their thing without Jamal Murray for a good chunk of this early part of the season. They're 24-11, 3rd seed. Clippers are 20-12. Clippers have been playing great since December 1st. And that afternoon game in L.A. where the Warriors blew the lead, that was the turning point for the Clippers. They've been playing really well since. 20-12 now for the Clips. Sacramento got beat by Charlotte tonight in Sacramento. So the Kings a bit of a the Kings are winning enough, but they're a different team. They are much more Fox and Sabonis dominant than they were last year. They were getting a lot more balanced contributions up and down their roster. Malik Monk's been great for them. Keegan Murray has improved for them, but they are not getting the roster-wide 8, 9, 10 players contributing different man every night type thing. They are really Fox and Sabonis dependent more than they were last year, but still 5th at 19-13 and still basically on a pace akin to what they had a year ago when they won 48 games. But I think what you're seeing is 48 isn't going to be the 3 seed this year in all likelihood, although still time for things to flatten out. Pelicans are 20-14. They've proven when they're relatively healthy that they're a pretty good team. So the uphill climb continues for the Warriors as they find themselves, again, only 2 games out of 8th and only 3.5 games out of 6th. But still, at the end of the night on the outside looking in at 11th in the Western Conference. All right. Fun with numbers. Looking at the numbers for the Warriors. 3-game losing streak we mentioned comes to an end. The Warriors have won 10 of the last 11 against Orlando here in the Bay Area. The one loss was last season. Remember, the Warriors got swept by the Magic, got swept by the Pistons last year. Warriors now 11-4 when they score 120. And this is a pretty telling stat for Golden State. 7-0 this season when they shoot at least 50% from the field. And the Warriors played another clutch game. 26 clutch games for the Warriors. 26 out of 33 have been within 5 points with 5 minutes or less to go. And the Warriors are back to even in those 26, 13-13 on the season. Stephen Curry, 14th 30-point game for Steph. 2 boards, 6 assists, a block. How about 4 steals tonight for Stephen Curry? And Jonathan Kuminga, Greg, I am going to read this note. Jonathan Kuminga, double figures, 14 of the last 15 games, including the last 13, which is a career-high streak. And I think this was a top 2 or 3 game for Kuminga this season when you look at everything that he did across the board. The rebounds, the blocks, the assists. We had somebody in the chat say that he was even shorter to block. But yeah, 19, 6, 4, 2 blocks. I thought he had a steal taken away too. But no, Kuminga, I think, if not his best game, it's right up there with one of his best games of the season. And yeah, Kevon Looney, plus 10, as he played in his 261st consecutive game, if you include the playoffs. Good stuff there from Kevon Looney. And then inside the box score a little bit. We've mentioned this a couple of times, but the Warriors, 37 free throw attempts tonight, and they outshot Orlando in terms of points at the free throw line, 24-19. And it took them a lot of attempts to get there. Kind of odd that everybody who shot a free throw for the Warriors missed at least one free throw, and Steph missed 3. 8 of 11 for Steph Curry. But nevertheless, Steph still with a 36-6 assist game with 4 steals and a hell of a impactful performance as the Warriors get the job done. All right, 808 KNBR. Final couple of minutes here. Back to the YouTube chat, and we appreciate everybody who's been chiming in. Yeah, a lot of praise for Klay Thompson as far as his ability to acknowledge some of the things that maybe he hadn't been doing well in terms of body language and that kind of thing. So, yeah, Jimbo, kudos to Steve Kerr. Pull back the curtains and you see why Steve has led this team to 4 championships. Well said. And also Jimbo adding on, 2 years of rehab took a toll on Klay physically and it seems mentally. I mean, it was apparent even last year. Like Klay, like it's just when things are not going, like if you just, and maybe I get an opportunity to do this more because I'm in the building on a night in, night out basis. And you can't always see it when you're on TV, when you're watching on TV. But yeah, I mean, Klay just he looked angry all the time. He just looked, and look, I get some guys play angry. Some guys just have that look. But Klay just looked ticked off when things were not going well. So for Steve to have the guts to go to him and say that to him, I think is important. For Klay to be receptive enough to it to let the media and therefore the fans in, I think it was awesome. And yeah, Aaron in the chat, what an amazing conversation for us to be let in on. I think we got the good Klay back for good now. I think Warrior fans are certainly hoping that. And yeah, Rebel DeSounds, I mean, this was part of Steve Kerr's pregame press conference, this sentiment. Sometimes Klay's just too hard on himself. He is his own worst critic. He is somebody that is tough on himself. He's a perfectionist. And I think when you have watched Klay Thompson's career and you see all the shots that Klay Thompson would hit with regularity, and those same shots are misses, it takes a toll. It absolutely takes a toll. I think it's something that messes with your head if you're somebody like Klay Thompson. I think it absolutely messes with your head, and it can send you down a dark path. Even if you still, like he did last year, make over 300, even if you still shoot 41.5, there were just far more bad games for Klay than Klay Thompson's used to. And I think that's the part that would send him down the rabbit hole. And so, yeah, he would, again, for Kerr to be able to say it to him, I think is important. And that's good. I think that gives the Warriors an opportunity to potentially, salvage this thing. So we'll see. But good stuff from Steve Kerr. Good stuff from Klay Thompson and letting everybody in and letting everybody, understand it. Regulator. Klay didn't really go through anything before the injuries. He would look cool, calm, and collected. Of course he would. He's shown frustrations way too much. Yeah, and again, I think he did it last year too. I think he did it last year too, and even when he played well, he would be angry. It was almost like he wanted to. I mean, the joke that I would have was like he wanted to get up on the table and just start yelling at everybody that would tell him, that was saying, you're not the guy you used to be. It's like, it's okay. You don't have to be the guy you used to be. You can still help this team win. And he did that when he played more relaxed. And he was doing it 2 weeks ago when the Warriors were winning 5 in a row. So that's all really that the Warriors need in this thing. Douglas Mikes, I did want to answer this one. What happens when Draymond returns? Does Kuminga go back to the bench? Or does he play the 3? Does Draymond start at center? Or do Draymond and Kuminga have a death match? No, I think if Kuminga's playing as well as Kuminga has played for the most part, I think Kuminga probably stays in the starting lineup. And Draymond comes off the bench and gets eased in. I don't think Kuminga plays the 3. The Warriors don't like Kuminga playing the 3. They just don't. They don't view him as a 3. They view him as a 4. And Steve Kerr's been asked about this. I've asked Steve Kerr about this. I thought one of the keys coming into this season for the Warriors is going to be, would they get more comfortable playing him at the 3? And they clearly are not comfortable with him being at the 3. I think, when he's out there with Wiggins, I think Wiggins is the 3. I mean, you could say it's semantics because they both play 4. But as far as, what happens when Draymond comes back, I think like if Draymond was coming back tomorrow, which, by the way, we didn't even get into this tonight, but Steve Kerr's pregame comments about the lack of him being around and basically saying, hey, we're giving him his space and he's giving us ours. It seems like he's not close to being back. Not nearly as close to being back as it seemed like it maybe was or had been reported that it was around the Christmas holiday. But yeah, what happens? I think Draymond probably comes off the bench if he was coming back right now, and they would keep it rolling with Steph and Chris Paul with Klay at the 3, or Steph and Pajemski. People already coming in. Rich Ray, JD, why are you so against JK playing the 3? Because it's about that. If they do it, then I'll admit I'm wrong, but they're going to be admitting they're wrong. They do not play Kim at the 3. So what does that lineup look like? Trace Jackson Davis, Draymond, and Kuminga? Like I don't think they're going to do that. I think Kuminga and Draymond can play together, but they can play together with Draymond at the 5 and Kuminga at the 4. So we'll see. But again, I'm not ruling it out like it's a for sure can't or won't. I think it's more about 5-player combinations. But if you've been paying attention, it's not that I'm against it. It's that you got to pay attention to what the Warriors have done and said and how they've acknowledged it positionally. Like they've just refused to do it. Like they do not view him as a 3. And if Clay's out there and you're playing 2 guards, then he's automatically going to be the 4. So I think you could see Steph with Pajemski or Chris Paul, Clay at the 3, Kuminga at the 4, Draymond at the 5. I think you could see that. But there's no doubt when Draymond comes back, all eyes are going to be on Kuminga and how, and it's not, I'm not even putting this necessarily on him. I do think some of it's on Kerr. It's how can you, with Draymond back, get him in the mode of being as impactful if he's not quite playing as much? That's the question. How can he be as impactful as he's been when it goes from 28 minutes to 23 or when it goes from 25 minutes to 20? That's going to be, I think, a big part of the conversation. And yeah, when I'm talking about the 3, it's offense. It's the 3 on offense. I mean, Kuminga he guards 1s sometimes on defense. And I think that's a fair point to throw out there. I'm talking about offensively, they don't view him as the 3. But you're right. I mean, players and the Warriors have a bunch of guys that are, guard different. Peyton was basically the 4 on offense, but the 1 on defense. Kuminga at times was the 4 on offense, but the 1 on defense. It just kind of depends on the matchup. But yeah, I think Kuminga and Draymond can definitely play together. I don't know about Draymond and Kuminga with another big that basically makes Kuminga the 3. And then what, Clay and Steph? We'll see. Again, I don't think the Warriors are looking at trying to do that. But that doesn't mean that Kuminga shouldn't play or can't play or won't play. But the first part of the question, I think Draymond Green would come off the bench right now. Uncle Looney, to me, it's more about minutes than the starting lineup. Dubs will be able to be versatile. Hopefully people accept their role if it leads to winning. Yeah, that's going to be the biggest thing. That is going to be the biggest thing. Yes, Draymond at 5. Yeah, nobody. I think Draymond at 5 and Kuminga at 4 is absolutely on the table, and you will see. Without a doubt. I think that it's not the Draymond part that's the part that it's the Kuminga, Draymond, yeah, Steph, Douglas Mike, Steph, Pajemski, Wiggins, Kuminga, Trace Jackson Davis. That's they haven't liked Wiggins and Kuminga together, but that's the kind of lineup. And I want to say Steve Kerr went to that. That was the lineup at the end of the half. I'm trying to go back through my notes here. Yeah, it was Curry, Pajemski, Wiggins, Kuminga, and Trace Jackson Davis. And then Chris Paul came in for Pajemski with about a minute 35 to go before halftime. And Saric was out there for a couple of minutes before with Kuminga. So they did play that group a little bit tonight. Yeah, regulator, I think you're right on. If Kuminga could shoot, he would play the 3 more. Yeah, if he was a better 3-point shooter, you could have him out there with different groups. But yeah, that remains to be seen as far as, time will tell. I mean, we don't even know when Draymond's coming back. And I think, and we didn't get into this tonight, but we will get into it Thursday, and we will get into it Friday, and we will get into it in our first Just Dubs live show, by the way, coming up on Saturday, 10 to noon right here on the Sports Leader.
Pretty good.
Yes. 10 a.m. to noon, Just Dubs, John Dickinson, Greg Silver, book it. It begins this Saturday. So, yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it as far as where the Warriors go with a lineup. But the one thing that we didn't get into that we will get into in the coming days is it sure sounds like, and maybe there's some reporting to the contrary, but Steve Kerr's pregame comments sure made it sound like Draymond ain't close to coming back and joining the team. But it had been reported toward the end of this homestand, so we'll see. We shall see. All right, that'll do it. Excellent work. My guy Cole, getting it done. Appreciate you. Greg Silver, excellent work. Appreciate you. Thanks to everybody on the YouTube chat and viewing this program on YouTube. We really appreciate that. And for everybody that weighed in on the text line, just a great conversation here for the last pretty much 2 hours, which I did not anticipate us going 2 hours tonight, but sometimes it happens. Yes, sir, Rockin' New Era 84, 10 to noon, Saturday. Right here, 10 to noon. Phone calls, live on YouTube and Twitch, same old deal. And we'll be reacting to a busy, busy week. Appreciate you, Regulator. Appreciate you, Jimbo. Appreciate you, Drew Down. Rockin' New Era. Everybody following along on YouTube. We'll talk to you Thursday. For Greg and Cole, Warriors win tonight, 121-115 over the Magic. Talk to you Thursday after the Dubs take on the Nuggets. It's KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
That's just like making a game winner.
Steph was amazing, but Steph is always amazing.
The lob, TJD, pocket three, Curry three. Oh my goodness.
Some days I think about like homework in school, but then, I got to look and I don't have it.